we've actually got a special guest lined up, and I think we've got him on the phone. He may have been on this show one time before. Political analyst Eli Crane is with us. Eli, are you there?
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Thanks for the time this morning. I ran for lieutenant governor in South Carolina at the same time Trey Gowdy ran for Congress in South Carolina, and I've always respected and admired Trey. His family is fairly local to the PD region of South Carolina. We have a friendship. We share, kind of campaign stories and kind of keep in touch with one another. The one thing Trey has done has been a staunch defender of Donald Trump. I mean, he's been, I don't want to call him a sick dog because Trey's a very independent, and he's a prosecutor by nature. But Eli recently, he's still a Clinton critic, but he's been not in support of the way Trump has handled his reactions in relation to the Mueller investigation. Is that a proper and accurate articulation?
Yeah, I think it is a proper articulation. He's brought up a couple really good points when you think about it. And I think he has proven to be not partisan in, some of his investigations into things that Ryan Zinke was up to, Ben Carson, Rob Porter, and Tom Price. But I think the thing that we have to remember is it's easy to be Trey Gowdy. It's easy to be Eli Crane. It's easy to be, not the guy in the hot seat being investigated. When you sum up everything from the fact that we've seen so much bias in law enforcement at the highest levels, even in the FBI, and then you take Robert Mueller, who's running this investigation, who comes from that same tribe and that same cloth, and he's assembled a team together of 13-plus Clinton donors and staunch Democrats, and not one Republican on that team. I think if 99% of us were in Donald Trump's shoes right now, regardless of whether we felt like we'd done anything wrong, I think we might all be a little bit worried about it too, and might be questioning whether or not we're going to get a fair shake and a fair investigation. So,
and that brings me to this question, Eli. If we believe Trey has been fair and objective, I mean, he's a Republican. I mean, there's a question about that. He's from South Carolina. I mean, we know the politics involved in that dynamic. But if we believe he's fair, why does he continue to give the Mueller investigation the benefit of the doubt? He says, let Mueller do his job. Let's not have all these contradicting media reports. And I think he gave Trump advice, when you're innocent, act like it. Why does he continue to appear to be supportive of this ongoing investigation?
Well, personally, I think that he feels like President Trump and his team is ultimately going to be exonerated from this. And I think when that happens, Trey wants to make sure that there's not even a question of whether this was tainted, whether the president put too much pressure on them. I think he continues to say, hey, let them do their job. Let them finish it. If you are innocent, you want this investigation to be as exhaustive and run its course as possible. That way, at the end of it, nobody can come back and question this investigation and its integrity.
How bad has law enforcement hurt itself? How bad has the reputation of the FBI been tarnished? DOJ. I mean, we got another story this morning that the Inspector General's office will investigate some things even further. The American public need to trust their FBI. They need to trust their CIA and their DOJ. How bad has that reputation been tarnished as someone who is kind of inside the bubble?
Well, I think it's been tarnished a pretty good deal. And the fact of the matter is, when you look at this from a partisan line, Republicans tend to be the ones that support law enforcement on a much greater scale than their Democratic counterparts do. And the fact that it's Republicans who are up in arms about what's been going on at the highest level of our Justice Department. I mean, you've even got a guy like me who is so pro-law enforcement, and so supportive of cops and agents, special agents, that, it's definitely core to my being. But I'm sitting here looking at the facts and looking at what's going on, and I'm very disappointed and very concerned with what's going on. And I do think that law enforcement can recover from this, but I think it's very, very crucial that we get to the bottom of it, and that we reverse course in this country with what's going on in law enforcement.
Eli, is it fair to say, I've always said that as a former politician, I had a redeeming skill. We all have redeeming skills and qualities. When we get outside of that box, we're a little more uncomfortable. Donald Trump's political skill is his ability to turn anything into a street fight. I mean, for whatever reason, he's always able to turn it into almost drag you to the gutter. In a world that doesn't like street fights, that being Washington proper, that doesn't like being in the gutter, did the FBI take the bait? I mean, I know the media took the bait, the fake news argument, and I think the media's really harmed themselves irreparably down the road. But did law enforcement take the bait? Did Trump allow this to become somewhat of a street fight?
Well, I think he did, and I think you're right. I think that's one of the things that he is the greatest at. But I also think that's one of the reasons that Americans elected him. I think there are so many of us, whether you call us the forgotten man or whatever you want to call us, they were so sick and tired of not being heard, and we were so tired of politicians running this country who would tell you one thing to your face and then go into a closed meeting and do the exact opposite thing. And we wanted a fighter. We wanted somebody that would fight for us. And I think he's done a phenomenal job, of fighting. And that's who we elected. And I do think in many ways law enforcement has taken the bait, and I think you could argue that he's done a pretty good job playing everybody against themselves.
Eli, we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.